I still think my mom's idea of doing things for the sake of doing things with friends is the dumbest shit I have ever heard. What's up, everybody? It's Zillennial Nexus. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about the struggle to spend time with friends in your late 20s, because the closer you get to 30, the harder it gets to spend time with friends and basically do a lot of other things that you might rather do instead of boring things like chores or such. But before we get into all that, be sure to give this video a like. Comment what you think about all this, whether you agree that the struggle is real or if it's just the American hustle culture problem. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary of a man caught between generations. So what brought this to mind today was that one of my friends is trying to assemble a hangout, but has to wait for so many responses. This is the same friend who organized the Sonic 3 screening that happened to fall on my birthday. And I'm likely not going to be joining them for this because they're going to be doing it in the evening hours. At this time of year, I prefer to do things in the afternoon and then be home before sunset. The only real exception being if I'm going to see a movie that I can't really control the time for. In the case of last month, I went to see Ballerina because the only showtime that was in premium format was at 7 p.m. Goddamn Lilo and Stitch hijacking the daytime showtime screenings. I'm sorry, I had to get that out there. Anyway, this reminds me of how previously on this channel, when it was Henry's Stream of Consciousness, I tried getting my friends to come see a special screening of my favorite movie back in April, The Martian. I was showing at the Museum of Science Boston's Mugar Omni Theater for Space Week. Out of the five members of my Henriati who I recurringly try to invite to these kinds of things, I only bothered with three of them because I knew two of them were going to have work the next morning. I extended invitations to those other three. Two of them said they had other things going on. One said yes, but then reversed that decision after I had reserved the tickets, which thankfully didn't cost money because the Museum of Science does not do refunds. But yeah, I ended up having my mom come with me because I had the extra spot. But yeah, trying to assemble all five of them for that really showed just how much more of a struggle or hassle it is to spend time with your friends in your late 20s. And looking at the organizers thing right now with the other friends. So yeah, it takes more active effort to hang out with friends closer to 30 than when you're closer to 20, because as you get older, yes, more responsibilities show up no matter how much you try to minimize them like I do. Because as I've always said, like Lester Burnham, I want the least possible amount of responsibility. I first noticed this when I graduated college in 2019 and then got the movie theater job not too long after. And slowly I wasn't able to do my Saturday Henriotti meetings, which I held pretty much every Saturday from September of 2018 up until July of 2019 was the last time that I held one, and then wasn't really able to do anything with. I'm gonna actually look at my calendar for this. So yeah, most Saturdays I had the movie theater job. Now I did occasionally get some to come with me to see a movie on in the afternoon at the other location before my shift that day. And I was able to hold a few more. But honestly, over time, it just, well, there was a period of time in September and October of that year when I was not scheduled on Saturdays, so I was able to do that, hold them then. But then it just faded away until right before the pandemic began. And then after that, well, it was just over for trying to hold anything in person. Didn't really get to do anything like that until May of 2021, and my friends and I actually, the two that I was able to get out, to get to come out, the day that the mask requirements in Massachusetts were lifted, we actually just went around places exploring the freedom of not having to wear a mask just because we could. We ended up going to Five Guys for lunch. It was a fun experience. It was definitely worthwhile. But then as time went on, the 2020s continued. We all started getting closer to 30 than 20. We all eventually just didn't get out as much. Yeah, I've heard that more men my age or younger are less likely to have close friends than before. And while I have my Henriotti, I admit it's not as easy to assemble them as it was back in 2019 and earlier. Becoming more of a I became more of a recluse over the course of 2023, 2024, and 2025. As I mentioned in my YouTube video about using my video games to save money, just by way of not going out, spending my time playing video games and saving money by not wanting to go out as much or eat as much. Well, I still ate quite a bit, but you get the idea. So, for example, I am glad that I can just play video games instead of going to see the movies that I aborted my plans for this month because I found out that they were garbage. Yeah, work can definitely hijack more of your time as you get older, as can family, whether it's aging parents, aunts or uncles, or older relatives in general who might need your attention, or you're one of the few people in their 20s and 30s having kids of their own. That is really the big one. Literally, no one in my Henriotti is even close to having kids of their own. And within my family, among the grandchildren both my of both pairs of grandparents on both sides of my family, only only my two cousins on my dad's side have each had a kid each. And then my mom's side, forget about it. Well, that's just my first cousins. Expand to my second cousins, and some of them within my age group are having kids, which I totally respect. But yeah, mostly it's not as prominent as it used to be. And I don't know the exact details of how it's affecting their social lives. People like Diary of the Child Free say that completely inhibits your social life. I'm aware that it definitely makes it a lot harder to just get up and go do something with your friends or do something you just feel like doing if you have kids. I mean, if you don't have kids, it's a lot easier to do what you want, when you want, if you don't have kids versus if you do. Matt Walsh isn't completely wrong, though, that it just requires more planning, but we're not going to get into that. Anyway, the cure, according to some like my mom, is to just do things for the sake of doing it with friends, no matter what it is. It's like how DVDR said from his video about his movie going experiences is that it's really more about who you're watching with than what you're watching because of the garbage that he was subjected to watching. He realized from observing other people, he was all like, going to the movie theater is definitely more of a thing for couples and groups instead of individual people. Now, I agree that who you're watching with can have an impact. Like when my friends and I whisper quips to each other at movies at reasonable volumes, I'd like to add, such as when I whispered to one of my friends, Baskin Robbins always finds out. When Paul Rudd's character got a Baskin Robbins ice cream pint in Ghostbusters Afterlife. And then there's also the comparison I talked about of seeing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 with my friends on my birthday the second time versus the first time on my own. Yes, I still felt the excitement at seeing Sonic and Shadow team up and live and learn playing over them, going Super Sonic and Super Shadow. That was cool. And I still cried tears of joy at that, seeing it by myself at the fan event screening, which is really just the 3 p.m. Thursday preview show with a little 5 minute reel of behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, it was also fun to see it with my friends, see their reactions to the the thing from the game made my brain do a happy moments. Yeah, I'm not gonna deny that can definitely be fun. It can definitely enhance the experience. That being said, I still think my mom's idea of doing things for the sake of doing things with friends is the dumbest shit I have ever heard. And it's no excuse to lower my standards for what I'm willing to pay money to go see at the movie theater, and can even entrap me into seeing garbage I'd rather avoid. Or it can lead to doing things you wouldn't want to do. Like, at a certain point, it is acceptable to say, no, I don't want to go and do this. I don't care who it's with. I do not enjoy it. Or I know for a fact from someone I trust that this movie is garbage. Therefore, I'm not going to go see it with you for the sake of doing things with friends. You want to see that garbage? Go ahead. You waste your time and money. I don't think so. Actually, as I record this, I have a friend who is headed to see Superman tonight. I told her all about how I found out that it wasn't that good and I aborted my plans to see it. But I really hope she enjoys spending time with her friends because the person I trust gave it a 4.5 out of 10. And I'm like, nope, I'm not spending time or money to go see this. Maybe I'll watch it when it's a $6 rental. But quite frankly, I am done spending money on a ticket to go see a movie that could be a mixed bag. Like, and not just the ticket, mind you, even if it's just $5 or $7 on a Tuesday, factor in wanting to get sliders and then popcorn and water bottle. Grand total comes out to about $40 for going out to see one movie. Now, sure, you can argue you can just not get the sliders or the popcorn or the water bottle. Personally, I have to disagree with you there. I'm in the camp of if I am going to make the effort to leave the house, I am going to do more that I can't just do at home. Now, I've stopped buying burger patties and chicken patties and such from the grocery store because I would rather be able to just put prepackaged deli meat in the wrap, much less time and effort and money. If I'm going to go through the effort of leaving the house, I'm going to go enjoy something that I can't usually get. Oh, and again, it's against the rules of the movie theater to bring outside food. I know a lot of people do it all the time, but personally, I think if it's against the rules on paper, it's best to just not do that. And also, I'm aware that the movie theater barely makes any money off the tickets, therefore, that's why the popcorn costs what it costs. Therefore, either pay the price and respect the rules, or you don't pay the price and you skip the food and you respect the rules, or you just don't go if you're not going to respect the rules. I'm sorry, at a certain point, you have to choose between either respecting the rules or not entering in the first place. Just like I talked about with the grocery store conspiracy, how at the events that they hold, they have the sign that says, if you enter, you consent to being photographed by the photographer that's going around, well, to appear in the photographs. Therefore, if you don't want to be photographed, don't enter. I believe it's the same thing for pretty much any rules that any establishment has. But we're getting off topic here. Getting back to the main topic, I just want to also say that if I had planned to see Jurassic World Rebirth and Superman with friends at any point, and then the reviewer I trust came out with the 3.5 out of 10 score for Jurassic World Rebirth and the 4.5 out of 10 score for Superman, I could not have aborted said plans as easily as I did when that critic confirmed those movies were garbage. If I had planned to go with friends, I probably would have had the tickets in my app and I would have been like, yeah, I would have had to either refund both of them and tell them that if they still wanted to go, they'd have to get their own tickets. The seats would be available by then, so that wouldn't really be a problem. But then they would have had to do that. I'd feel like a jerk for pulling the rug out from under them like that, whereas having planned to go on my own from the start, I saw movie critics review. I was like, okay, this is not worth my time or money. And I was able to simply hit the refund button in my app and be on my merry way. Because, again, I am not wasting time or money on garbage movies. If I'd planned to go see them with friends, I would not have much of a choice to back out. I would have had to either test positive for COVID or been violently ill in general. But I digress. Anyway, doing things with friends is nice. I'm not trying to put that down. I'm not trying to say that it's the worst thing in the world. But it's not the end all be all of what I do. And it's good to have standards, even though, again, yes, the further you are from 20 and the closer you are to 30, the harder it gets, and you might have to compromise sometimes. Like, that's perfectly fair. But I guess what I was trying to say with what else I was trying to say is that it's okay to have boundaries and be like, no, I'm not doing this just because it's with friends. Like I said, my mom saying that she just does things sometimes for the sake of doing them with friends is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Because if friends invite you to come jump off a cliff with them, you wouldn't do that, would you? Honestly, if my friends invited me to do that, I would say no, and then I would call the police to stop them from hurting themselves if they were serious. Now, if I want to go do something, I'm going to go do it, and then I'm going to let them know the details and give them the option to join me if they see fit. Like with the Martian screening back in April, and there's that Tom Hanks Moonwalker thing in Boston I really want to check out. I think I'm just going to see if my friends are interested first, and if they are, I'll make plans that involve them, and if they aren't, I will decide from there. Anyway, it certainly does get harder to spend time with friends the older we get, whether it's because of work, family, or something else that gets in the way. Fact is, we all have finite amounts of time, and I happen to be a little more selective now of how I spend my time outside of the instant gratification job, making these videos. Yeah, if I'm gonna do something more than just play video games or watch a movie at home and review it, it has to be really worthwhile. Like in the case of The Martian at the museum, seeing my favorite movie at my favorite museum. I also have standards for what I do for that, but regardless of who it's with, whether it's a movie I know is going to be garbage or the time just doesn't work for me, I'm still not afraid to say no. But I'm going to wrap it up here for the video. Let me know in the comments what you think, whether I'm on point or just plain wrong. Whether you're in the same mid to late 20s situation or older and have suggestions, yep, I'd actually love to hear back from you. Don't forget to give this video a like on your way out if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary of a man caught between generations, and I will see you soon.